Here we go with a game against an 1186 player in the Play Like a Chess Master series. I'm in a 5-0 Blitz Arena on chess.com, and we have a Caro-Kann. Okay, normally there's a c4, a pawn on d4 here, so let's play c5, trying to take advantage of the fact that there's no pawn there. Now this pawn does not have a defender on d4, so I'm already liking how this position has started. Let's get some tempi on the queen. Yep, that's a good move. Bishop d7 next. But we already have this small advantage in the center. I think a move like c4 probably makes sense to try to hit the center, but I have this other pawn ready to back it up. So I'm really liking my position here. Now let's bring this knight to f5, or maybe g6 might be stronger. Knight g6 pressures this pawn. So a lot of times in the Caro-Kann advance, you want to attack the weakest pawn, and the weakest pawn is usually the d4 pawn, but if the d4 pawn is gone, then the e5 pawn becomes the weakest. So let's go knight g6, pressuring this pawn. And we can see my opponent put their bishop out there. And now we can expand in the center a bit. Let's poke at b2. It's a good square for the rook anyways. And now it's probably a good time to complete development. I could go h5. The opponent has h3. So let's keep developing. One thing to note here is I do have the bishop pair. So I have two bishops and my opponent does not. When you have the bishop pair, it's good to open up the position. Open up the bishops. So that's definitely something that I'll try to do in the next few moves. Okay, offering me the knight trade. I think I do want this. Now the question is, do I at some point play f6? Right away it might not work because he's on this rook. Let's activate the rook. Because I'm kind of looking at playing c4 even. Okay. The queen feels a little bit shaky to me. I'm not sure yet how I can take advantage of that. Let's get the queen moved out. I also need to get this knight bishop in the game. c4 could be a move. Not really sure what my opponent wants to play here. So I could play c4 myself. Okay, I'm going to put the queen here, even though it lines up with this bishop. Because I think I want to play c4 myself as a way to open these two bishops up through the queen side. Yeah, I'll take that. And then c4 next. Because there is this weakness now on a3. Pushing past is probably a good move. Okay, now I'm eyeing this pawn. My queen is keeping a watch on that bishop as well. And the next place I want this bishop is probably c5, pressuring this pawn. Bishop b5 is also tempting, threatening to take the rook. But if you look at this bishop, I'm controlling the d4 square twice. So there's no knight d4. Okay, I could go bishop b5, but his rook can move. So let's just get control of this open file first. Okay, there's some sort of kingside attack happening. h6 looks like a good move no matter what, because it prevents ideas like knight g5. And if my opponent offers a queen trade here, I'm happy to go into the endgame. No problems with that. Alright, let's take this pawn. My queen is also kind of eyeing this diagonal, She needs to come back to help. I'm not sure where the attack is coming from over here. Let's see if we can get this pawn running up the board. Okay, opponent's looking for bishop takes here. Interesting. Am I afraid of it? A little bit. Let's bring this bishop back. He's done a good job on c5. I also have to watch out for rook c1 type tactics. Alright, he's going for the sack. I think I have enough defenders with the queen ready to come back. Not too worried about this, but I could be missing something. Queen's still ready to come back. Queen trade would be nice, because a queen trade eliminates all of the counterplay for my opponent. I'm already +4. Queens off the board would be really nice. Targeting this pawn. Alright, I'm going to just bring the queen all the way back and play it safe, because I also have to watch the clock. Marching this pawn up the board is the goal. I'm assuming f4, move, try to get the rook into the game. Good looking move. Let's start offering some trades. Queen f6, I can block. My opponent still doesn't want this trade. Okay, now I'm going to eye this checkmate on g2. If they take bishop, there's a checkmate. Still threatening the checkmate. Now let's secure this bishop. And this kind of allows my queen freedom to move because I have a really safe king position now. There's no checks currently for the white king. If you look at these pieces and pawns, all protect each other. Okay, my opponent offers a queen trade. And now you can see if you draw a box for that pawn, this king is outside the box. So this pawn is becoming a queen. And the opponent resigns. Okay, so let's look at the game report there. My opponent did get a good attack going. I think they did a good job trying to create some play on the king side. And it looks like around here I started to make a few mistakes. So the advantage is 2.4, it drops to 0.55. Trading rooks helped my opponent. Okay, so bishop to b5. If rook takes rook, oh, pawn takes it. I'm hitting the knight and the rook. Very nice. So bishop b5. Yeah, rook e1 was actually a mistake by my opponent, because bishop b5. And if pawn here, I think I can trade rooks and then win the pawn on c4, because I take twice. Let's check with the analysis. c4, rook takes e1, rook takes e1, d takes c, b takes, bishop takes. Yeah, that would have been good. That would gain me the pawn, and now I can start to try to convert being up the pawn. But in this position, when I take e1, I'm helping my opponent out a bit, because their rooks weren't very active. I had one active rook. And here I'm not up any material. So even though I have the bishop pair, I still have to figure out how to improve the position. And c4 was not a good try. I think b4 by my opponent would have been a good reply. So I'm wondering here if I should have done... I still kind of want to play a move like f6, but I'm not prepared for it. It's a tough position. I'm looking at the engine suggestions: rook b8, rook c8, rook e8, bishop f8, bishop c6. I don't see a clear plan from Stockfish. Okay, let's actually start with h6. Oh, bishop takes h6 is strong here. Alright, yeah, so I gotta be careful. Okay, let's do rook b8. bishop g5, and I could retreat. So this is a pretty secure structure. And maybe next I can get something going over here on the queen side, but it's not easy. Okay, so I think the biggest takeaway though was that rook trade, because leading up to that I had a really nice position. In this position now I'm probably ready to go h6, bishop c6, and d4. I think that would be a good strategy. Okay, so some good takeaways from this game. It was a Caro-Kann, pretty good, but we had a large rating differential, so I think, you know, at this point I should have been playing more solid than I was able to in the game. I definitely should have at least had that on the radar. But yeah, some good things to learn from this game. Alright, thank you for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please click the thumbs up, and please click the subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.